And even today, decades later, the themes of 9 to 5 still matter. The struggles, the humor, and the message about working women remain as relevant as ever. Dolly helped give that story authenticity and a soul that still speaks to audiences. Her legacy reminds us why this film endures. It wasn't only about entertainment, but about truth, resilience, and the power of unity. $56 billion. dollars. That's not just a deal, it's a power shift. When one of the world's fastest growing nations signs the largest nuclear plant agreement in history, the world pays attention. And when the partner on the other side is a country that has long dominated nuclear technology, the stakes become even higher. This isn't just about building reactors, it's about influence, strategy, and the silent battles shaping tomorrow's energy map. Think about it. Why would a country pour this much money into nuclear energy now? What does it mean for its people, its economy, and its position on the global stage? And why is the other side, once confident and unshakable, suddenly showing signs of surprise, even shock? In this video, you'll discover the hidden layers of this 56 BL agreement. You'll see why it's not only about producing electricity, but about independence from fossil fuels, cutting-edge innovation, and a race for global leadership. You'll learn how the deal impacts jobs, technology transfer, and the balance of power in Asia and beyond. And you'll understand why some believe this single project could change the future of energy politics. Stay with me until the end, because the real story isn't only what's written in the contract. It's about what this deal reveals, the ambitions, the risks, and the opportunities that no one wants to talk about out loud. This isn't just another headline, it's a turning point. And once you see the full picture, you'll realize why the world is watching so closely. The deal is massive. $56 billion are on the table, making it one of the biggest nuclear energy agreements in the world. At its heart, the project is about building new nuclear power plants in India. Plants that will not only generate electricity, but also reshape the country's energy landscape for decades to come. The agreement involves close cooperation between governments and some of the biggest names in nuclear technology. On one side is India, determined to secure its future energy independence. On the other side is France, with decades of experience and world-class nuclear expertise. Together, they are preparing for a project that will stretch across years, cost billions, and carry both enormous risks and extraordinary rewards. The numbers are staggering. The $56 billion figure is not just about construction. It includes the advanced reactors, the infrastructure, the safety systems, the long-term fuel supplies, and the workforce training required to keep everything running. This is not a quick project. Nuclear plants take time to design, to build, to test, and to bring online. That is why the timeline is long and carefully planned. The deal was signed after years of negotiation, with both countries weighing not just the cost but also the strategic importance. Construction is expected to begin within the coming years, with completion stretching into the next decade. By the time the plants are fully operational, India hopes to have taken a giant leap toward its energy goals. But why nuclear? Why not simply invest the same money into solar or wind energy, sources that many call the future? The answer lies in India's unique situation. The country has a population of over 1.4 billion people, and the demand for electricity is rising every single year. Cities are expanding, industries are growing, and households are consuming more power than ever before. The gap between what India needs and what it produces is wide, and the country cannot afford to rely on outdated systems. For decades, India's energy backbone has been fossil fuels, especially coal. Coal has powered factories, lit up homes, and fueled transport. But the cost has been heavy. The air in many Indian cities ranks among the most polluted in the world. Health issues linked to coal pollution have risen sharply. And on the global front, coal makes India one of the top emitters of greenhouse gases. With climate change becoming a global crisis, continuing down this path is no longer an option. Natural gas and oil are alternatives, but they come with their own risks. Prices fluctuate wildly. Imports make the country dependent on foreign suppliers, and both are still tied to fossil fuel emissions. Renewable energy like solar and wind is expanding rapidly in India, but it cannot yet guarantee constant large-scale power. Sunlight doesn't shine at night, and wind doesn't blow all the time. Storing this energy in batteries is still too expensive on a national scale. That is where nuclear comes in. Unlike coal or gas, nuclear energy produces no carbon emissions during operation. Unlike solar or wind, it runs 24 hours a day, unaffected by weather or season. For a country like India, this stability is priceless. Nuclear can provide a strong backbone of constant electricity, while renewable sources fill in the gaps. Together, they create a balanced, cleaner energy mix. The deal also reflects India's ambition to rise as a modern, self-reliant power. By investing in nuclear technology, India signals to the world that it is serious about energy security and climate commitments. It also signals confidence, showing it is ready to partner with advanced economies and handle the complex demands of nuclear power. For France, the deal secures billions in contracts and reaffirms its role as a global leader in nuclear technology. This is not just about turning on a few lights. It's about powering entire cities, supporting industries, and creating the foundation for economic growth. Nuclear plants take years to build, but once running, they can operate for decades. That makes this deal more than just a project. It is a long-term bet on India's future, and it is a bet worth watching, because the outcome will not only shape India's energy map, but also influence how other nations see nuclear power in the 21st century. France's role in this deal is not a side note. It is central to the story. For decades, France has been one of the few nations with deep expertise in nuclear technology. Its state-backed companies have built reactors not only at home, but also in countries across Europe, Asia, and Africa. That reputation is now being put to the test in India, where the demand for energy is immense and the expectations are high. France is providing advanced reactor designs, engineering support, safety systems, and years of accumulated know-how. This is not just a transfer of machinery. It is a transfer of knowledge, a handing over of a complex system that requires precision and trust. The benefits for France are clear. At a time when global competition in the nuclear industry is fierce, securing a deal worth $56 billion is no small achievement. It guarantees years of work for French companies, engineers, and technicians. It reinforces France's image as a leader in civilian nuclear power, a field that has seen growing challenges from Russia, China, and even new players experimenting with smaller modular reactors. Beyond the money, there is prestige. To be chosen as a partner by one of the fastest-growing economies in the world is a statement that France still holds unmatched credibility in nuclear technology. And then there is influence. Energy is power, and being the one who helps provide it gives France leverage in future negotiations, not just with India, but with other nations watching closely. Yet, benefits are never free of risks. For France, the financial risks are obvious. Nuclear projects are notorious for cost overruns and delays. Every month a project runs late adds millions in expenses. If the reactors face technical setbacks, France's companies will shoulder much of the blame. Technical risks are just as heavy. Nuclear technology is unforgiving. One design flaw, one safety lapse, and the consequences can be catastrophic, both in terms of safety and reputation. Politically, France also carries responsibility. Any problem in India's project could quickly become a diplomatic crisis, shaking trust in French technology worldwide. For a country that prides itself on its nuclear leadership, that risk is enormous. What has truly shocked many in France is not the signing of the deal itself, but the terms surrounding it. India, once seen as a market desperate for foreign technology, has negotiated from a position of strength. Instead of simply accepting France's conditions, India has pushed hard for better terms, greater control, and stronger assurances of technology transfer. This shift reveals a new balance of power. France is no longer dictating the conditions. It is adapting to India's demands, showing how the global energy landscape is changing. Another surprising element is how much the deal seems to favor India in the long run. While France secures contracts and short-term profits, India secures decades of stable energy, advanced technology, and the chance to build its own domestic expertise. France has committed not just to building reactors, but to training Indian workers and engineers, helping the country develop the skills needed to run and maintain such massive projects. This means that over time, India could rely less on French experts and more on its own. For France, this is both a win and a potential long-term loss of influence. There is also the strategic angle. France has always enjoyed being one of the few countries with global nuclear influence. But now, the deal shows that India is not a passive partner. By driving a hard bargain, demanding favorable financing, and insisting on stronger local participation, India has made it clear that it is no longer willing to simply follow. This assertiveness may have caught France off guard, especially since it has long been used to being the dominant voice in nuclear partnerships. The shock, then, is less about the size of the deal and more about the shift in dynamics. France entered the negotiation expecting to lead, but it now finds itself in a position where it must adjust to India's ambitions. For a nation that has built its nuclear identity on prestige and control, this is a striking change. It forces France to rethink not just how it deals with India, but how it competes in a world where emerging powers are rewriting the rules of partnership. The geopolitical weight of this $56 billion deal goes far beyond energy. In Asia and the wider Indo-Pacific, power is not only measured in armies and weapons, but also in infrastructure, technology, and the ability to secure resources for the future. By signing such a massive nuclear agreement, India is signaling that it is no longer content to play catch-up. It is positioning itself as a country capable of shaping the region's energy map and asserting independence from traditional energy routes dominated by fossil fuels. Nuclear power gives India more than electricity. It gives leverage, stability, and influence in a region where energy demand is exploding. For Asia, this deal shifts balances in subtle but powerful ways. Countries like China and Japan have long invested heavily in nuclear technology, using it as part of their national strength. India, by joining this race at such a scale, places itself alongside them. It demonstrates to its neighbors that it is not only a consumer of energy, but a builder of advanced energy systems. In the Indo-Pacific, where competition for influence is intense, this move reinforces India's role as a counterweight to China and a reliable partner to Western allies. It shows that India is not waiting for handouts, but instead forging high-value partnerships that advance its long-term goals. For France, the implications are equally important. This deal secures its standing in the global nuclear industry at a time when that leadership has been under challenge. Russia has aggressively marketed its nuclear technology abroad, building reactors in multiple countries with state-backed financing. China has also started exporting its own designs, especially to developing nations. By landing a deal of this size with India, France proves that it remains a key player. It sends a message to the world that French expertise is still trusted, even in a market crowded with competitors. The prestige attached to this contract extends far beyond South Asia. It could help France secure more nuclear projects in other regions, especially in countries looking for alternatives to Russian or Chinese technology. Other major powers are watching closely. The United States, already a strategic partner of India, sees the deal as a reinforcement of India's energy independence, something that aligns with its goal of countering China's dominance. At the same time, Russia may view the deal with unease. It has long been a nuclear supplier to India, and France's entry at such scale signals a shift in who India trusts for its future. China, on the other hand, understands the symbolism, and India, with advanced nuclear capacity backed by France, means another competitor for regional influence. The reactions are not always vocal, but behind the scenes, this deal is being studied as a turning point in how alliances and energy strategies are drawn. Another important piece of this puzzle lies in innovation, specifically small modular reactors, SMRs, and advanced modular reactors, AMRs. These are new generation nuclear technologies designed to be more flexible than traditional massive plants. To put it simply, SMRs are smaller reactors that can be built in factories and transported to sites, making them quicker and potentially cheaper to deploy. AMRs take this further by experimenting with new fuels, cooling systems, and designs that promise greater safety and efficiency. Why do these matter? Traditional nuclear plants often take decades to build and billions to complete. SMRs and AMRs, by contrast, offer modular construction. That means parts are prefabricated, assembled faster, and can be scaled up or down depending on demand. They are also designed with enhanced safety systems to reduce the risks of accidents. For countries like India, which needs large amounts of power quickly but cannot afford endless delays, this technology could be a game changer.
India and France are not just focusing on giant nuclear plants. Their cooperation includes research and development in SMRs and AMRs. France brings decades of design experience, while India contributes a growing pool of engineers and a huge domestic market to test and expand these technologies. Together, they aim to combine innovation with scale, creating systems that can serve both India's needs and the world's demand for cleaner, faster, and more affordable energy. This collaboration shows that the deal is not frozen in the past. It is not only about building massive reactors with old designs. It is also about moving into the future of nuclear technology, where agility, safety, and cost efficiency will decide who leads. For India, this ensures that it is not just buying technology, but becoming part of the global conversation about the next generation of nuclear power. For France, it means remaining at the forefront of nuclear innovation, even as new competitors emerge. In the end, the inclusion of SMRs and AMRs adds another layer of strategic depth, making the deal not just a contract for today, but a blueprint for the energy systems of tomorrow. Environmental and safety concerns always come first in any nuclear deal, and this 56B project is no exception. Nuclear energy may be clean in terms of carbon emissions, but it carries risks that cannot be ignored. Accidents, though rare, can have devastating consequences. The world remembers Chernobyl and Fukushima as warnings of what happens when things go wrong. For India, where some plants will be close to densely populated areas, the fear of radiation leaks or system failures is real. The waste problem is another shadow that follows nuclear energy. Radioactive waste can stay dangerous for thousands of years, and storing it safely is both costly and politically sensitive. These are not abstract worries. They are part of the daily debate around nuclear power. To address these concerns, the deal includes strict safeguards.
France brings its decades of experience in designing advanced safety systems, reactor containment structures, emergency cooling mechanisms, and layered protections to reduce human error. India has also strengthened its regulatory framework, requiring multiple reviews before any plant is approved or becomes operational. Part of the agreement ensures regular safety checks, collaboration on waste management strategies, and strict international oversight. These measures are designed to reassure both governments and citizens that the reactors will be held to the highest standards. Still, public opinion is divided. Supporters argue that nuclear energy is the only way to meet India's growing demand without choking its cities with more coal pollution. Opponents, especially environmental groups, point to risks of accidents and long-term waste storage. Protests have already erupted near proposed nuclear sites in the past, with communities fearing displacement, health risks, or damage to local ecosystems. For regulators, this means the challenge is not just technical but social, winning trust, maintaining transparency, and proving that nuclear can be safe in practice, not just on paper. The environmental impact also stretches beyond safety. Building such massive infrastructure affects local ecosystems, water supplies, and even land use. Nuclear plants require large amounts of water for cooling, which can stress nearby rivers or coastal zones. Environmental groups warn of thermal pollution harming aquatic life. These issues force India and France to balance technological ambition with ecological responsibility, a balance that is not always easy to achieve. Then comes the question of economics. $56 billion is not loose change. How India pays for it is as important as what the plants will produce. Financing comes from a mix of government funds, loans from international institutions, and investments tied to the agreement. India is spreading the cost across decades, betting that the long-term returns will outweigh the upfront burden. For a developing economy, such a gamble carries weight. The calculation is simple on paper. Nuclear plants produce large amounts of electricity for decades once operational, making the initial cost worthwhile over time. If successful, this deal could stabilize electricity prices, reduce dependence on expensive imports, and give industries a reliable power base. But the risks are heavy. Nuclear projects around the world are infamous for running late and costing more than expected. Each delay adds millions to the bill. Each technical problem stretches budgets thinner. Who carries that burden? Part of it falls on the government, part on taxpayers, and part on the companies involved. France, too, risks losses if deadlines are missed or if costs spiral out of control. For India, the benefits are clear. Cleaner energy, more jobs, long-term energy security. But the financing model means future generations are also tied to the success of these reactors. If they deliver, the country gains a solid energy foundation. If they stumble, the debt and delays could drag on for years. That tension between cost and benefit, between risk and reward, defines the very core of this deal. Both sides know they are walking a fine line, balancing ambition with caution, investment with uncertainty, and promises with the hard reality of nuclear construction. Technology transfer is one of the most critical aspects of this 56 billion nuclear deal, and it is a point where India has been very firm. The country does not want to simply buy reactors from abroad and remain dependent forever. Instead, it wants to use this opportunity to build its own capacity, train its engineers, and grow its domestic expertise. That is why part of the agreement ensures that Indian workers and engineers will play a central role in both construction and long-term operation. Thousands of jobs will be created, not just in the plants themselves, but in supporting industries, steel, cement, logistics, transport, and countless local services that feed into such a massive project. France is bringing the high-end technology, including reactor designs, safety systems, and specialized components that cannot yet be built locally. But India has insisted on a strong technology transfer component. This means that over time, more of the parts, equipment, and expertise will be produced inside the country rather than imported. For Indian engineers and scientists, this is a chance to learn directly from some of the best in the field. For local industries, it means contracts, training, and the possibility of eventually competing in the global nuclear supply chain. The local impact goes beyond jobs. Infrastructure in the regions hosting these plants will expand. Roads, housing, schools, and healthcare facilities often follow such large investments. Local economies can experience a surge in growth as new workers arrive and local businesses supply goods and services. The multiplier effect of such a deal is huge. Every dollar spent on construction filters into multiple sectors, giving communities opportunities they may never have had otherwise. For a developing economy like India's, this is as important as the electricity the plants will eventually generate. For India, the future outlook ties directly to its long-term energy goals. By 2030, India wants to drastically cut its dependence on coal and meet a significant portion of its electricity demand from non-fossil fuel sources. Nuclear energy is part of that equation, providing stable baseload power alongside the rapid growth of solar and wind. If the French reactors come online in time, they will help India get closer to its climate commitments and ensure steady power for industries and households. By 2047, the centenary of India's independence, the country hopes to be fully energy secure, with nuclear playing a key role in sustaining economic growth and reducing pollution. For France, this deal could reshape its nuclear export strategy entirely. Success in India would prove that French technology and project management can handle large, complex international projects once again. It would allow France to market itself as a reliable partner to other countries seeking nuclear solution, particularly in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. On the other hand, if the deal faces the same issues that plagued past projects, France's competitors, Russia, China, and even emerging American players, will seize the opportunity to step in. This makes the Indian deal more than just another project. It is a test case for whether France can maintain its global nuclear leadership in a century where demand is rising but tolerance for failure is shrinking. This deal between India and France is more than just a massive energy project. It's a signal to the world. It shows that India is stepping up as a serious nuclear power player, and that France is betting big on its ability to stay relevant in the global nuclear industry. The shock surrounding the $56 billion price tag was understandable. But when you consider the scale, ambition, and long-term impact, it becomes clearer why both countries are willing to take such a bold step. In the years ahead, the real test will be in the execution. Will the reactors be built on time? Will costs stay under control? Will nuclear truly become a cornerstone of India's clean energy future? Or will delays and opposition hold it back? These are the questions to watch closely, because their answers will shape not only India's energy security, but also the future of global nuclear cooperation. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. 2.